Hello, ladies and gents. I'm currently living my personal nightmare right now because I'm giving a talk with my voice pretty much gone. So if you hear me be a little hoarse or something like that, pre-apologize, but nothing I can do about it. I'm here to talk about Exoplayer to rescue VideoView. Video is kind of one of those things that it gets solved once and then like nobody ever retouches it again. So I thought I'd kind of go over some really simple ways that you can actually integrate Exoplayer, and it is as simple as VideoView. So really, this talk needs a little bit of a different title. It's not really Exoplayer, it's SimpleExoplayer to rescue VideoView. And rich media really isn't that hard, so keep it quiet. So let's kind of go over just some of the video player types for everyone to kind of remember, right? And this is all about how much do you as an engineer care about your user experience. There's kind of the I give no craps about anybody version of this just works and people are happy enough, aka video intent, right? You just send off an intent, it's dead simple, no code, it's no risk, you can't crash your app, right? That's not your problem. But at the end of the day, it's got a lot of disadvantages, right? You've immediately lost engagement. You've immediately lost any kind of metrics, right? Did they pause it? Did they go back? Did they try to go through some other like playlist or thing that you also wanted to put in there? You have no control. You have no control of what it looks like. You have no control over the quality of their experience. And on top of that, you've already taken them out of your app, right? Like every moment that you take them out of your app, that's huge. And it's also dependent on what the user has installed. So if the user doesn't actually have something installed that can play your video, it doesn't play. It just pops and goes, right? That kind of sucks. All right, let's kind of go with the basic version, right? Like, and I admit fully to sometimes being a little bit of a basic B word, but hey, it's all right. VideoView. Everyone's familiar with VideoView, right? Which is, yeah, okay, it's got some advantages, right? There's no libraries, there's limited scope, and it's simple, right? You treat it pretty much like a view, you just hand it your URL and say play. Okay, that's kind of right. Kind of disadvantages, right? There's very limited controls. You actually have to create a video controller and assign it to it. And in order to actually modify those controls, you actually have to modify that and do inheritance or extension and do all kinds, you know what I mean? It's like, it can blow up. It can blow up. But if you're just trying to go for the simple one, all right, it's cool. And it's got limited styling, right? Like in terms of material themes and stuff like that, you can just pretty much set the colors. And we're going to talk about another thing in part of that. It can look different depending on the device. You are not guaranteed a certain level of experience unless you've gone through all the customization, right? Because we all know Samsung changes this. Like most actual phone manufacturers will change how this actually looks. So it's not a consistent experience. And if it's not a consistent experience, that means that the UI does not match what your application looks like. Can't make a designer very happy. And it only supports like a few video formats that you're guaranteed. And I've even found that some of these can be a little bit dicey. And that's really not that many, right? You basically can only get some HLS streaming support, but you have no dash, no smooth streaming, you have no multi-bit, you have no any kind of those fancy things that we're wanting. So where do we go from here? Exoplayer. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's made by the Googlers. And you know the Googlers, they always make good stuff, right? So Exoplayer 2. Advantages. Huge codec support. Audio and video, all in one. Highly customizable. And you get like fancy stuff, 360, stereo video, lots of control. You can go crazy, right? But this is like maximum effort, hard mode a little bit. If you've taken a look at some of those examples, you know what I'm talking about. And that's kind of the problem, right? Like it kind of makes people super intimidated when you see those example code, and it's great that they give you all that, but like I just need to play a video on a product for a review. Do I honestly need to go through all this effort? And yeah, it's that complication problem. Features exist that don't really have good examples or documentation. There are so many things that Exoplayer can do that I have not seen any articles on. Like that's crazy, right? Like it's awesome, but it's also an extra library. So it blows up your package size a little bit, but it's relatively small. And let's go to like medium effort, right? Like the no-brainer mode, which honestly is SimpleExoplayer. Advantages, it's still Exoplayer. So you still get all the customization that you get with regular Exoplayer. And we're gonna go into why this is so important in the code example after. Audio session is handled automatically. You know, with the latest version of Android, audio session is kind of a big deal where it pauses, or for you to get a phone call, pauses your video, does all kinds of fun things like that. All inclusive. You don't have to do any frames, handlers, other things. It really makes it as simple as just VideoView is. And you get like additional getters and setters, so you can actually customize certain things about the controls without having to override and inherit and do all kinds of weird stuff like that. Disadvantages? Hell if I know. Like, honestly, like, I'm not that smart. I really couldn't find anything that made me go, oh yeah, I should totally be using regular Exoplayer over SimpleExoplayer for just playing a couple of review videos. I couldn't find one. So let's start looking at the code. All right. So my basic thing here, whoa, that got weird. Come on now. There we go. All right, so this is the code that we're running, right? Our video intent looks like this. Takes a while, right? This is just the embedded video player that happens to be there. Normally you'd get a little pop-up that says, which way do you want to play this? I have like no control, right? I have like play, pause, and that's it. Sucks. Video view. All right, so now I can start to use some of that custom theming. I've already added the media controls here. You'll see that in the example. But all right, that's pretty fine. So let's look at that, right? Like on here, a video intent, right? So we're just creating the views here. This is just what the video intent is, right? And this is like the way you're supposed to do it now. Like, I feel like intents keep changing sometimes in terms of like specialized content, because it wasn't this a number of years ago. But you just say, okay, it's a video intent. I need to make sure that it gets played by video. Okay. All right, you can see this can't crash my app in any way, shape, or form. And here I'm just sending off to video view activity, and I'm just passing it a video URL, which is up here, which is just an HLS stream. So if we take a look at video view, this is pretty much it, right? It's pretty darn short. All I'm doing is just grabbing that URL, then I'm taking it and putting it in the URI, right? Setting the media controller, anchoring it, and then just saying start, pause, all that kind of stuff. Really isn't much to it, but it does play the video, right? And in terms of the UI, there really isn't much there either, right? So all I've done here is, if you look at the activity, I've just given it the style to inherit so that it gets the coloring. Otherwise, it's just sizing, and I just declared the view. But let's look at actually how simple Exoplayer can be. And let's look at our example here. So Exoplayer. I click it. Ooh, fancy. Look at these controls I have automatically. Oh, how nice is that? Like, I have like a little video buffer. And also, did you notice it actually started like way earlier? It's like way faster than a lot of the other options. It's because Exoplayer has so many things that it can do. Multi-bitrate download, it handles caching for you. It's really nice and automatic. But let's kind of go into something really quick with other things it can do. Another thing it can do is automatically handle playlists. So in my example over here, I have the ability to send it a playlist group over here. And it's just, video intent there. So let's look at the Exoplayer. This is where I say it actually is pretty darn simple. So there's a few little bits of code that I've kind of like mocked out here that will show a little bit of extra features. But, all right, I'm just saying there's a URL or a URL list. I'm going to grab it. I'm doing some tracking with video position because I think it's kind of cool that you can actually send it to a specific spot in a video. That's not really something you can do in VideoView without kind of like a lot of hassle. So it's really simple in this case. So all I'm doing is declaring a new factory, declaring a player, setting that player's media down here, right? So I can select between static media, so if I have downloaded MP4s, or if I have an HLS stream, which is what we're showing over here, and it automatically does it, prepares it, and sets it for the player. And then all I'm doing is saying play when ready. So when that actually loads up and it's ready to play, just automatically do it. And another thing I'm doing here that is a little bit of extra is media session. So by default, Exoplayer actually gives you those controls you see on the screen that you didn't get with VideoView. But what it doesn't automatically give you is media session. So what we actually need to do is add the media session connector. Why would I care about that? Well, part of it is you're making your application aware to other applications that are using media session, right? So if I play, pause, or if I have like a controller, your stuff actually automatically works with that. So if they've updated volume or they've got some sort of custom click thing, it's automatically going to handle all of those button controls for you. And if you actually take a look at another example that I have, you really need the media session in order to do a lot of other fancy things with like notification buttons and all that kind of jazz. But it's a good idea to add it anyway, just so that everything else is aware of your video that's playing at that time. So, all right, we've made it this far. That's pretty darn simple, right? Let's take a look at that layout file. That layout file for Exoplayer, remember we looked at the one for VideoView? VideoView one, it's pretty short, right? Same thing when it comes to SimpleExoplayer. All I have to do is just declare a player view. And I just give it a size. In this case, I'm just saying take up the whole window. Right? Like all of the things that we were just showing, we've already added on to what VideoView can do, and it really wasn't that much harder than doing basic VideoView, right? Like it's not really any longer code. So why aren't we doing it? Like why aren't we taking that effort to go a little bit further? Probably because it's not something that gets brought up very often, right? Like I said, video is one of those problems, once you solve it, you never really come back to it, right? All right, so let's start thinking about what can we customize maybe a little bit. So Exoplayer has some extras that you can do with the player view that make it so you can do extra things with it. So what if I want it to actually take up the entire screen and cut off the edges and still keep the same aspect ratio? Like if we think about aspect ratio with images, this is something you can't really do with VideoView, right? So let's take a look and see how that looks. And you know what? Honestly, I want to change the fast forward increment and the back increment. So before we were going with the system defaults, which I believe are 7 and 15, let's just make them both, you know, like 1 and 10, right? So if you're just playing pretty much short videos, probably want that back button to be a little bit of a shorter increment of time than 7 seconds. So let's go ahead and see how that looks. All right, let's hit run. Should take like no time. All right, so let's take a look at that. So now that we're playing this video, wow, okay, so now we're getting a zoomed view. We've changed the aspect ratio. There's a bunch of different parameters that you can put in there, but let's say you're doing like full scale immersive content that's like Instagram, right? Well, let's be honest, everybody's trying to copy Instagram in some way, shape, or form. But also what we saw is that this video got better quality as it was playing, because this was multi-bitrate. So it became clearer as the connection became better. Something Exoplayer does that other things don't really, and that's why Exoplayer can actually start a lot quicker, because it's getting the user into that engaged status, right? So, all right, cool. We already have like a little back. The back only goes 1, yay. Forward goes 10. It auto plays, woohoo. So let's move on to another thing we can do, which, all right, let's get rid of that zoom mode. It's fine, but I kind of don't really want to do with it right now. You can actually come in here and do custom layouts. What? That's it. That's all I have to do for a player view. So all I've done here is I've literally just copied the base Exoplayer like buttons, and then I've gone ahead and then added just a full screen button at the bottom. Yeah, so we're gonna have full screen button in like 2 seconds. And I totally am using synthetics here. Some people don't like that. Nah, not my problem. It's easy for demo purposes. All right, and then we got to undo this. All right, so, all right, we're gonna have a custom view here. So all I'm doing is I set a little on-click listener, and all I'm gonna have it do is change the screen orientation, because I've already set up Exoplayer so it automatically fills the space. And then if it doesn't do it after a certain amount of time, like flip it back so that people can still do the rotate move. And all I'm doing down here is listening for when it changes, and then I change the button, right? So I change the image in the button. Nothing really fancy about it, honestly. So let's hit go. All right. We are going to have added an Exoplayer in like no time. Come on, baby. All right, so, wow, cool. We have a full screen button. Oh, snap, and it changed. And it'll auto-rotate back in a moment. Yeah, there it is. So we've already added an entire player control and a custom view, and it was like nothing, right? Like, how hard would this be to actually alter and change where you want buttons to be or what buttons you want it to be there? Really not hard at all. And that looks pretty darn professional in my mind, doesn't it? So, all right. I promised I'd also talk about something else it can do, which is Exoplayer playlists. So all I've done here is I've set a list of various HLS streams to this Exoplayer view, and now I have a playlist that works with these forward and back buttons and has multi-bit rate. There's actually 4K content in this one, so it takes a little while to load, but it's dynamic. How did I actually do that? Well, all I'm doing is create playlist. So you know how before we just set the media source immediately? All I'm doing here is I'm just creating a concatenating media source which basically adds all these other media sources together, which are just the links. And then I just set that as the player. That's it. That's all you have to do for playlists. Like, that's it. If you want to add extra things with labels and all that kind of jazz, you still have all the Exoplayer options. It's still very simple. So let's get back to the slides. I feel like we have a good understanding of what Exoplayer does now, right? So everyone feel like they understand the code? Yes? Okay. Was it as simple as you thought to actually get up and started with Exoplayer? Come on. I know it's early. Come on, yes. 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 Okay, thank you. I can't talk. I should not be the loudest one in the room. So yeah, this was all the things that we accomplished in literally 20 minutes. 20 minutes, y'all. 20 minutes. Custom. What? Awesome. All right. HLS and static media. It's really simple to add dash support in there too. I included a link in case you want to test that out. You've already added media session. You've built a custom UI with a custom feature to actually go back and forth and change the orientation so you have full screen. You add custom options with changing fast forward and back. And you add playlist support. Like 20 minutes. There's no excuse to use VideoView now. No excuses. So here are some awesome more resources for you to actually continue to understand some of the bits of Exoplayer. Exoplayer Medium blog, they've got a great blog with all these kind of like extra features. It is the Exoplayer team, so I don't know why I put a question mark, but I didn't know who to call out. There's a 5-part series by Nazmul Edis on building a video player app in Android that goes through kind of like all the different features that you can put in it, including like picture-in-picture, top-level notification, playlist options and things like that. Playing 360 video and stereo video by Erdem Gervin. So if you wanted to actually do like some VR stuff, like it's really simple, as well as 360 objects. And I had one that has picture-in-picture support with some extra hackery so that you can kind of make picture-in-picture do stuff that it wasn't meant to do. But it works, so and this is me. Slides, some stuff I do, contact information. Want to say special thanks to Nicole Borelli, DA on the media player side, and the Exoplayer team for kind of their comments and input. So thank you very much.